Picture this. It's the dead of winter, 1799. The revolution is decades behind him. The presidency is over. And the most famous man in America believes he finally earned something he never truly had: a peaceful life. But destiny wasn't finished with him yet, because in the final 48 hours of his life, George Washington would face a silent enemy, one he couldn't outwit, outfight, or outlead. And the truth behind his death is far more tragic and far more shocking than most Americans ever hear. After leaving office in 1797, Washington returned to his Mount Vernon estate with one dream: to live quietly, privately, anonymously. But even retirement demanded greatness from him. He spent his final years rebuilding Mount Vernon's failing finances. Personally, managing its 8,000 acres, hosting a non-stop parade of visitors, sometimes dozens a day, raising his step-grandchildren like a father, and still advising the government he tried to walk away from. Outwardly, he looked strong, almost impossibly strong for a man who had survived. Malaria, dysentery, smallpox, chronic respiratory infections, lung damage from freezing military winters, and painful dental infections that lasted for years. He was, as many historians say, a medical miracle. But even miracles have limits. On December 12, 1799, Washington climbed onto his horse for one last inspection of his estate. The sky was a battlefield of sleet, snow, and piercing winter wind. For hours he rode, soaked, chilled, exhausted, yet he pushed on. When he returned home, drenched from head to toe, guests were waiting. And in a moment that would change the course of American history, he refused to change his wet clothes. He didn't want to keep anyone waiting. That single act of politeness may have cost him his life. By nightfall, he felt a scratch in his throat. He'd had countless sore throats, countless colds. Why worry now? But by the next morning, something was wrong. Very wrong. He struggled to speak. Swallowing became painful. His breathing sounded strained. Martha begged him to stay inside. He didn't. Washington wrote letters, handled accounts, and pushed through his full routine, even as the sickness tightened its grip on him. By night, he whispered the words Martha had rarely heard: "I feel very ill." At 2 a.m., December 14th, George Washington woke up choking. He couldn't breathe. Martha rushed to him. She had seen him sick, wounded, fevered. But never like this. Doctors were sent for immediately. That's when tragedy took over. Medicine in 1799 was crude, dangerous, and often deadly. Washington's doctors believed that illness must be bled out. So throughout the day, they drained him of nearly 40% of his total blood. They applied blistering agents to his skin, forced him to drink molasses, vinegar, and compounds designed to induce vomiting, and inserted a crude tool into his throat, trying to open his airway. Modern doctors agree on one heartbreaking truth: he almost certainly would have survived, if they had done nothing at all. Despite the suffocation, despite the pain, Washington remained composed. He thanked his doctors, apologized for the trouble, gave instructions for his estate, and made one unusual request. He asked not to be buried for 3 days. A man who had faced death dozens of times was still afraid of one thing: being buried alive. As night fell on December 14th, Washington knew the end was here. Around 10 p.m., struggling to draw breath, he whispered, "I am just going. Have me decently buried." Then, summoning his remaining strength, he adjusted himself, choosing the posture in which he wished to die. He believed dignity mattered, even in death. His final words, spoken with quiet acceptance: "'Tis well." At 10:25 p.m., America's first president took his last breath. The true culprit? Modern experts point to acute epiglottitis, a sudden throat infection that blocks the airway. With antibiotics, he would have lived. Instead, outdated medical treatments turned a survivable illness into a fatal one. The news shattered the country. Newspapers declared, "First in war, first in peace, and first in the hearts of his countrymen." Washington's death solidified his legacy as calm under pressure, humble, duty-bound, stoic, and dignified to the final breath. His last words, "'Tis well," still echo across history, not as the end of a life, but as the closing line of a man who had given everything he had to his country, to his ideals, to the future.